What up, though? This is Thomas, and this month's episode of Dollar Store Cinema, I watched Justin Chong's movie Gook. It was an independent film made in 2017, and Justin wrote and directed it. It's about Eli and Daniel, who are two brothers who own a woman's shoe store, and the movie takes place April 29th, 1992, which, if you're uninformed, that's when the LA riots or the LA uprisings happened after the not guilty verdict from the Rodney King trial. And so this is a very good movie. I watched it on Canopy through my library card. Shout out library. Um, I'd always heard about it, and I know that uh, Justin and David So, who plays his brother, in my opinion, I feel like they were part of that YouTube renaissance of just Asian creators uh, blowing up. I knew Justin from his work with Wong Fu Productions, and then David is just hilarious. I'm a subscriber to his YouTube channel. But it was dope seeing him in that acting role, and he killed it. Um, and so it's interesting because this movie is just like a slice of life. You sort of dropped into all these established relationships and dynamics, and you as the viewer are basically figuring it out uh, as we're being shown. And off rip, you see the dynamics racially uh, between the Asians and the Mexicans and the blacks, uh, all like mixed up together. And what's interesting about this movie is that it takes place in Paramount, which I'd never heard of before. I actually looked it up. Uh, it's a couple miles away from Los Angeles, and they talk about South Central and how things were happening in South Central as far as people like breaking into stores and getting free things. Um, and so, like, one of the characters actually asked, was like, "Yo, do you think it's gonna come over here?" And they're like, "Nah, it won't." And it's just, I don't know. I I really enjoyed this movie, um, and I believe this was Justin's uh, first directorial like debut, and it was amazing. Uh, they used a lot of handheld, which made it feel more not interesting, more like you're a part of it, uh, which was really cool. Um, it's sort of like you're a character in the movie. Um, I will say standout performances. Obviously, um, Justin Chong and David So killed it. But the girl who played Camilla, who was a little, I think she was like 10, um, and she sort of is the one who sort of hangs out at the store. Um, she she killed it. It reminded me of Quvenzhané Wallis, how she had got nominated for an Oscar very young. Yeah, Simone Baker, I believe is her name, and she brought it. Um, and they all just clicked. Like you could tell that they had a relationship, that they were like a tandem in a way. Um, Also, the dialogue was very good, and again, it was realistic to the point where there was a confrontation scene between the brothers, and it felt like improv, like it felt like a real argument. There was like awkward moments and like silence, and I feel like it really worked for what they were trying to do. Um, and while you're watching it, obviously it's an independent film, and so there are little moments. It didn't take me out of it, but I was just like, oh, I see that. Uh, the movie took place in 1992, but because it's an independent movie, the budget isn't one where you can just block off streets. So, like, if you keep your eyes peeled, you can see a couple um, cars that aren't of the era. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some new cars, which is understandable again because it was a independent movie, like a low budget movie. Um, the music was phenomenal. Um, it was nice hearing David So sing, which I knew he could, and it was nice that that character sings, and so he's trying to work on his demo tape. And so I was like, okay, David, I hear you. And it ended up uh, working for the story as well. Um, I don't know. I just think all in all, it was a great movie. I'm glad that they broke down what that term meant, the title of the movie, and like it's one of those things where growing up, especially in the 90s, in the 2000s, like I feel like kids were just cruel and would use anything to try and like diminish another person's light. You know what I'm saying? Like other another person, and that was one of the terms that people use. I remember I, African booty scratcher was one of the things. Like we didn't even have anybody who was African in our community, but still, that was like one of those jokes that people made. Um, it was like if you weren't this, then there's something wrong with you, and we're gonna make sure that you know you're different, which is whack. And I'm glad that uh, times have changed in that way, where niggas don't really care what you look like or where you're from. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as you're mad cool. Um, yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie, and it got me. There were some emotional moments, and it worked. And the reveals of why certain characters felt a way they do was really good. And I feel like the, the filmmaker sort of played with expectations in some scenes. There was a scene with Camilla's character was in the liquor store and she's buying, and Mr. Kim, who's the shop owner, says in Korean, like, "Yo, I'll kill you if you steal anything." And I was like, man, that just reminds me of Latasha Harlan, which is one of the factors of people going so crazy when the LA uprisings was happening. It was just those racial uh, powder keg. And so, like, I was worried at first. I was like, I hope she don't just get shot by him. And I don't know. I just think it was a really good movie, and I feel like everybody should watch it. It's streaming on Peacock and Canopy, like I watched. So shout out them.